properties. Well, welcome to Philadelphia Walks PTSD. I was wondering if people could help me out on a big decision. It's not a, major bank breaker decision, but it's kind of a decision thing. And I thought, gosh, I'm in this conundrum where my heater kind of isn't working. I would have to call the maintenance man out to fix it, because when they changed the filters a couple weeks ago. So they had to go around and put new filters in everybody's air ducts, or however that works. And I realized overnight the heat kicked on, and they must have tested it. So they probably tested the thermostat and the filter, but they left it on. I had the thermostat in the off position because I try to save as much money as I can. And we've had sort of mild temperatures that aren't that bad, so I've been able to survive without turning on the heat for quite some time. It got a little chilly last night. At night it's been getting chilly. We still have a few days of 60-degree weather, and also I'm doing a bunch of overnights soon, right around the Thanksgiving holiday, so in a way I don't have to have the heat coming on at night. But point being, after they changed the filters, I would wake up at 4:30ish in the morning or so, and I'm like, wait, the heat kicked on. I think that's the heater, and I didn't turn on the thermostat. It must have been the maintenance men having to deal with the filters and everything. So I was like, I guess I'll turn it off. I was trying to figure out how to handle it, so I turned it off, and then on another day when it got really cold, I tried to turn it on, and it lasted for a few minutes. It lasted for a few minutes, but then all of a sudden I heard this weird clunkety, 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 clunkety sound. And then, oh my God, I was like, oh, it's clunkety, clunkety, clunkety. And then it kind of I was like, should I shut it off, or it sounds a little bit odd? So I was like, I guess I should turn it off. I'm not really sure. So I waited, and I was like, I'll turn it off because something's wrong with it. And then later when I tried to turn it back on again, it wouldn't turn back on. So I think it kind of brings up a little deja vu. And I kind of remember last year or the year before, we went through a phase of, they forgot to change. So somehow an email went around, or I don't know how this came up, but when they go around and sort of have to reset everything for the winter, do the filters and all that stuff, sometimes they forget maybe to reset something that's supposed to put everything on heater mode, or I don't know what it is, but this is what came up. I was like, maybe they forgot to do whatever that thing is to switch it, or because our units communicate with a big gigantic thing on top of the building, and that's how the thermostats work. So it hasn't worked. We did get an email saying, keep all your, they're happy, good. Keep your units on, don't completely turn them off in order to prevent pipes from sort of freezing up. Put them on 50 degrees. So even if you don't want to pay for heat, you're not ready to pay for heat, at least they'll be on just in case there's a deep freeze at night. And, they don't want us to, they want us to pay for the pipes not freezing. Isn't there another solution for that? But anyway, point being, it won't come on. So I left it on, and I kept it above 50. I put it at 60 because I'm kind of curious if it'll mysteriously turn on all of a sudden, if all of a sudden the generator on top of the building, or however it works, will communicate with our thermostats. So I was like, in the meantime, here's the dealio. Technically, because the thermostat went through this clunkety clunk phase, I was like, okay, it's not turning back on again. It's not actually, the batteries work. It appears to be on, but the heat won't click on. So I was like, this means I would have to call out maintenance, and I really don't feel like it. It's one of those things where I have an unusual schedule, and, I don't mind leaving for them to come in, but it's then I'll have to, and I don't want to feel set up What if people do things on purpose to force you to have to to deal with certain types of men who you don't necessarily feel like having to deal with because they trigger off a lot of rape memories and similar? What if they would do that on purpose? Because maybe some entities are willing to set people up if I were to react and have something to say, they would try to make me look like the bad person. You see, that's how Philly operates in general, isn't it? So a lot of criminals, a lot of rapists, a lot of people I actually consider terrorists at this point in time, a lot of psychological abusers, they want me to act out and then wind up, quote unquote, in trouble. You see what I mean? Or yelled at or corrected or scolded like a child. And so so the votes are, I'm asking all those people out there, should I buy like a little space heater for like 30, 50 bucks? Or there's little ones, and I'm wondering if they'll do the trick in the meantime until I feel like I'm in a better space to have to call them out to fix the thermostat. Also, if the thermostat really doesn't come on, then my bills should be pretty low because I'd only be using basic electricity. I live in a studio, so I use very little. It's my laptop. Occasionally, I do the dishwasher. Hot showers, I guess. And I barely use any lights. So votes, kind of curious. Should I get a space heater or shouldn't I? Should I spend the money or shouldn't I? I bundle up and get through, some pretty cool temps. I'm used to it. I actually did experience homelessness in the dead of winter because of what Philly does. We have a lot of very serious criminals and very disturbed, mentally fucked up people who are willing to keep setting me up to be in a situation that could result in me sort of having a little Fitbit or whatever. They want to keep making themselves look innocent, and they want to make me look guilty. It is on the murder level. There are people out here helping me, not monetarily that much, but enough to get by, because they're afraid too. This thing was so bad that I'm considered someone who was targeted for death. So what do you say? Would you buy a space heater just to avoid, would you put the money out? Technically, you can spend under $30 and have an okay one that will feel warmth in a small space like a studio. They have them at CVS, Walgreens, Target, stuff like that. So, curious about the votes. I would love to hear your opinion. Would you buy a space heater or wouldn't you? Because there's always the other thought of, well, I kind of know in the wintertime it's not too bad bill-wise. The summer is a wreck. The air conditioning costs way more than heat. So I don't know if I just have a way of being able to keep warm. I'll bundle up and stuff. But I know in the summer it's like, whoa, that's a skyrocketed bill if I ever saw one. You'd think I was paying for 3 apartments around me. But in the winter, it's been average. It hasn't been shocking, I didn't want that kind of bill. So technically, the other argument would be, well, it doesn't cost that much to run the heat. Heat rises, so when you're higher up in a building, technically, it might get a little bit warmer on the higher floors, and so forth and so on. But just asking for votes, what do you think? Should I buy a space heater or shouldn't I? Just to avoid having to call maintenance in, because I don't want to feel set up in case I have a triggered reaction, PTSD, because of too much testosterone in the vicinity of a certain brand. So hi Joe, how are you? Watching Sharon, what do you think? Should I buy a space heater? I'm asking for votes tonight while I walk around. It's a little bit cooler. My thermostat did and didn't work. It also was left on after maintenance had to put in filters. And I think it was left on purpose, but I sometimes I give the benefit of the doubt, like they had to hurry up, put all these things in, and I guess they had to test it. So they would turn on the thermostat. I'm not really sure how that works, but they left it on because I woke up the day after, like the morning after, I'm like, I think my heat's running, and I didn't want it to be on. But after that, the thermostat broke. It went through a clunkety phase. I was like, now it's not turning on after they left it on. And, I didn't want it on because we've had some pretty mild weather. So could it be a setup? We're going to make sure this thermostat, goes on the fritz. So she'll have to call out the very people who, even though a lot of these people are nice, she'll have to call out the very people who create little issues for people. You can get a plug-in heater. I saw one of those. That's a good idea. I guess like a space heater, plug-in heater. Also, I saw a brand new, thank you. So I'll take that as a vote for yes, get a heater, space heater, plug-in. I saw a brand new thing advertised on TV about some guy who, discovered reverse osmosis or something, but you actually plug it in like a plug-in, Glade plug-in, and it's attached to the plug as opposed to like a cord that runs to the heater per se. And you can actually plug it in, and they say it's supposed to work, for like my studio's on the small-ish side, aside from it being high ceilings. A lot of buildings here have high ceilings. So I'm going back and forth with whether or not I'm going to buy one, because I have a bunch of overnights starting in a few days. So I'll be doing overnights at a house that a lot of you are familiar with, because often I do live stream walks over to that house. Right, no one will listen to me. So probably you can save. Right, I wondered. I'm not certain, because I think it should save money. In the summer, one of my clients gave me a fan. It was a little bit more like high velocity than I expected, but they gave me a fan so that I wouldn't have to turn on the air conditioner so much during the summer. And still, I've had the highest utility bills this summer, even higher than past summers. I think we did have a brutal summer to at least be fair. But I was like, what? I spent I had this whole plan of turning on the fan and not the AC, and my bill skyrocketed to 3 times what I'm normally paying. Overnight stay. So yeah, now tonight I don't have an overnight stay. It'll start in a few nights. Like Wednesday night is my first night doing overnights for our old friends over on Delancey. They're going away. They're expecting a grandchild. So I swore last year, I was like, you know what? Eventually I will get to the place when I can actually enjoy holidays. I've been sort of stuck in certain positions for many, many years through no fault of my own, because I've attempted to get out on many occasions, and vehemently so. We are talking, I have probably 300 versions of my resume, because I've applied to so many different types of jobs. And even if you apply within your highest skill set, which would be writing, even still, you have to gear your resumes toward, you have to customize them towards whatever they're looking for, and or also the letters that you have to write, like cover letters. So anyway, I have a million of those on file. But point being, we have to get back to the point, because I'm trying to figure out what I was talking about to begin with. But I've been stuck in dog walking. Took it easy today. Oh, that's good. I'm glad. So anyway, every holiday, back to the point here. Like last year, I was like, I so much want to be in a place where I can enjoy my birthday and the holidays without having to necessarily do dog walks all the time or overnights. But it just so happens, you kind of can't say no when work comes along, in my case. So I'm shooting for next year. I'm hoping maybe the real estate situation will work out. I'm studying for it. It does take a long time. There's a lot of material And there's a lot of test taking skills that I have to reach back to like the late 80s and early 90s for. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember those days of test taking and the skills of learning, how to look for certain things, to actively read every single question. Because every once in a while they throw in a tricky question and it's like, the answer, but if you don't read the question correctly, you could answer it incorrectly. It's like, that'll take me a while. I'm 80% through the course, technically, but I know I'll have to go through and like really reinforce all that information into my brain. Technically, I have until like 2025 to actually take the exam. That's because they know it takes a long time for most people to get through the material unless they grew up with it and they would already know what to expect, or they're used to the jargon and the lingo and doing certain types of math, which technically, it's hard to explain, but they have certain formulas in place, and some people's brains are wired to believe that those formulas are correct. That's straight from the top. But we all know it's a special system that just keeps the economy going. So Julius Caesar, I just decided to walk by here just for fun. I guess I'm meandering around. So please give me your votes. Should I get a space heater? Joe says, go ahead, do it. Get like a plug-in heater. Just to, keep the dogs off, the wild dogs. I'm slightly kidding. I'm kidding a little bit. It has to do with what I've experienced in life, and what I experienced was incredibly bad. So it is like, for me, it is a big deal to make the decision to call maintenance in, and I really don't want to call them in. It's a shame that somehow magically the thermostat isn't working. So also a few years back, like when I first moved here, they had a whole reset thing. They sent an email saying, in order to get your thermostat working, this is what you need to do. You need to turn it off, then go over to your circuit breaker box. You have to switch over one of the things, and they tell you which one it is, and then wait another 5 minutes and turn it on and it should work. I don't know if that's true with the new HVAC system. I can't remember if they sent that email for the old HVAC system or the new one, because after I moved in, they magically decided to put in a new HVAC system with copper piping. The copper piping is slightly triggerous for me, because it has to do with things that I've experienced and what I recognize, and I would love to know how they decided to get copper piping. As both an aesthetic and a new functionality for a brand new HVAC system, because that created a lot of annoyance and noise on top. So in addition to copper representing something to me personally, it also created months and months, forever, annoyance, running into contractors on the elevators, them being kind of Yahoo-ish, here they are again, now they're on this floor, now they're on that floor. And it creates quite an inconvenience for people who, wound up in this building for whatever reason, but also have to shell out their hard-earned money to be annoyed all the time. So anyway, I'm glad you took it easy, Joe. I'm hoping, you're cozy and warm at home tonight, hopefully. And what was going on today? Not much going on in general. It's one of those days. I almost was going to take a yoga class up at Amrita just because they have candlelight yoga, and then they also, a different instructor teaches a class in the week, and she's an old instructor from the old days, and I wondered if she has kept good yoga intact or not. The thing is, I'd have to go all the way up to Fishtown for it, Johnny Brenda's area. Then somehow something popped up. In fact, the word pop-up was used, but the instructor I was just mentioning, who was around years ago teaching good yoga, a colleague of hers who used to work at the same studio where she used to work, I was like, wait, something popped up that said pop-up yoga at his house. He was having like his own yoga at his house. He did this before the pandemic. I moved to Florida, and I was like, oh my God, Jake's having yoga, like, he's doing rooftop yoga. He's doing yoga for dudes. He's kind of a special yoga instructor. Right, I'll go this way. He's kind of a special yoga instructor in regards to he kind of created a niche for himself, or carved out a niche for himself, and wanted to sort of target, I guess, guys who might be intimidated to show up at yoga classes because there's so many women. And also, a lot of guys have tight hips, hamstrings. Often they might be athletic runners or what have you. And then yoga, is technically it's a little bit opposite than your running, because you would have to get a lot of flexibility in your hips and your hamstrings. So some people, if you're in either field, you swear off the other one, like, do not take yoga, it'll mess you up if you're a serious runner. Other people say, no, it actually helps. And then yoga would say, do not run, it's totally going to mess you up if you want to do Padmasana, which is a lotus pose. That's the pose that everyone knows. So like when you see a lot of yoga imagery, lotus or Padmasana is when you sit Indian style, but in such a way, like there's a very specific way. This is a very advanced pose, and a lot of people would be like, doesn't look that advanced. It actually is, because in order to get your legs to fold in that direction, specifically, fully, you have to be in total alignment and flexible. Also, being thin helps. Some people happen to be very flexible and maybe they're not like skin and bone or whatever. It does help. It's kind of a whole program of getting the body in tune with the universe. The entire skeletal system is in alignment. That is a lot of work. And yoga, correct vinyasa flow and or ashtanga, is designed to bring your body into alignment. It is a very deep practice. It sees the body as an instrument. These days, you can't really find, it's a little bit shallower, the yoga that's being offered. I don't really know why that happened. No offense to everybody out there, but sorry, not sorry. I'm going to have to be a little mean on this one, but my vote is yes. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. So I will weigh that heavily in my decision of buying a space heater. I figure it's okay-ish tonight, and if I keep my body moving around, then I'm warmer. It's one of those things where when you sit down, you get colder when you're inactive or sitting too long. But if you keep moving, then your blood sort of warms up and everything. So a lot of people eating out here at the outdoor, a couple of people with their hoodies up there. So Locust, Ambrosia. It used to be called Sandy's Sandwich Place. This, of course, was during a time period when what was going on? The word sand was being used constantly. We had Sandusky, we had Hurricane Sandy. Remember that one? And Obama came out to Brigantine, and had and spoke out there. And also Sandy Hook. So the Sandy Hook at the elementary school. So those are three big, gigantic sandbag situations. It would go this way. Anyway, to make sure it's safe to use, don't start a fire, right? I think there was an email that said that if you use any extra space heaters or whatever, just keep them away from curtains. I don't have any curtains or anything similar. Also, a lot of these space heaters today, they have a tip over safety catch so that if they tip over or, if something's obstructing, it'll automatically turn off. If anybody needs a hat, here's one. Right, this would be how I would get my hats. In fact, the hat I have on now is free. This is a little bit too army green for me. This is like for a guy, Kachava commercial. Hi, Dave. Yes, good evening. So I used to walk a dog down here. The hat that I'm wearing now, it's technically a Timberland. I cut the ball off though because it felt too bouncy and like young-ish. So it's just like it's like a cable knit sweater but made into a hat. And it's black and it had a tan ball on the top, but I cut off the ball. I used to come down here to 216 South 24th Street. My dad and step family lived at a 216 Seneca Drive. Someone else lives here now. I can already see they have blue walls here. That's not them. I know they moved because I looked people up and found out, wow, everybody hightailed it out of here after I left. So they sold that for like $1 million or similar. The reason it would be this much, it's a townhome. The reason it would be really expensive is because it's part of the Fiddler's Walk. So the river is out there. Technically, this one should be less expensive because it's not close up to the walk, and they have an entrance here, but they also have an entrance around the mailboxes there. So they have a back entrance to that house, particular one. But they're not really part of all these people who come in through the gate. See how it's slightly different. So in my opinion, I don't think it's worth that much money, but the location, I guess, makes it worth that. Go Bonzo. So here's Chancellor. I used to walk by here with a Havanese named Izzy all the time. He was kind of a slow walker. It was a little bit funny, unless you were in a hurry and you're like, oh my God, I gotta. But he was so cute, and he just sort of shuffled his way down here and didn't necessarily always feel like going on a walk. But so here we go up Bonzal. Now turn around. So just to say, they had a whole bunch of people who are too privileged, and they think they can, direct people around the city. So we're trying to get rid of those people as quickly as possible. So anyway, I was told to go over there because everybody tries to push people here, there, and everywhere. It's kind of sad. It's a sad pastime, but I had to learn all this. I was like, what? That's weird. Like, nobody has a normal life. I guess they're so privileged that they then are taught. They wind up just being shown that they can sort of push people around the streets based on their desires. We want her to go over here. And there could be like 50 million reasons why. And they would do this to a lot of people, I guess. So anyway, that sounds really weird. But it's hard to explain, but technically people came along and this is what they told me. And they told me to pretend to go over to Bonzal via Chancellor. Bonzal runs parallel to this street here, to 24th. It's a little tiny street. I guess, should we go past it or not? Not really. Well, so anyway, so far votes in. Joe says, yes, get a space heater, get a plug-in heater, whichever, get an accessory heater, because of all this rigmarole, all this scam artistry and everything with the thermostat suddenly going kaput, but also being left on after maintenance came in when I'm trying to save money and everything. It's like, oh, the heater's on? And then I turn it off, and then later, a few days later, when it did get cold, I was like, maybe I'll turn it on for a second because it's extra chilly. And then it clunks out, which means I would have to call maintenance in, and I don't feel like I'm such a girl. Anybody need a table? That's what they told me to say. I would never say that. Fight like a girl. They told me to say that. Yes. So, anyway, fight like a girl came from, I'm told what to say. Just pretend somehow I have this wife always talking to me. Yes, dear. And anyway, it's not as fabulous as one might hope, So anyway, walked a dog in here, a little papillion. I kind of forget, it was like Cricket or Piper, or that might be the mom's name. I kind of forget. Alaska, there's an Alaska car parked in here, so people park in here for this building. They have their own garage over there. That building over there is technically a little bit confusing. You have to specifically know where you're going when you get off the elevator to go up. But I can recall thinking, I forget how did I wind up deciding? I was like, should I go out through the garage? I forget why I would think that. And I got lost for a second. I was like, wait, can I get out through the garage or not? So, like, pedestrian wise, like, clearly you should be able to get out. Walking wise, electric bikes in the house. You can check out my wish list on Amazon. There's an electric bike on there, $699. I thought that was a deal because some are like $2,000, $4,000. I'm like shocked. Even some scooters, you get the highest end Go Tracks would be, not Go Tracks. I got mine for $223, but there are some scooters out there that go for $1,000. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's not worth it. That's for a scooter. You might as well get like a used car, right? For $6,000, unless you're a show off or what. So One Riverside, FMC. So Giant over here. We got, everybody thinks they're a giant. Then they find out later they're not. After they're in jail is what I was told to say. That's what I was told to say. I don't know. You mean who? Like Trump, or who do you mean? Cadence. Bike sale. And back open Sunday 11 to 4. Here's some hours if you want to get sales, service, and rentals. That's perfectly placed. That's on the new-ish side. Just because if you want to rent stuff to use on the Riverwalk or whatever, of course, some people came in just before the pandemic and then kaputs, you know. They really didn't get as much business. This is, you know, there's been people who've been around the neighborhood for many, many, many years. That dog, the person walking dogs who I just showed, she's been around forever. She's had short hair, long hair, and we've been through it all technically as passersby for many years. It is the same woman with she always has two dogs. In the past, I think she had a pug or two. I kind of forget, but for some reason we never really spoke. But when I was walking Izzy, I would see her all the time. So now her hair is long again. We'll walk past the dog park really quick. Let's see if I can buzz on over here before this car comes. I remember when this was being built, and I think I left cards in there. I have no idea what they look like inside. I have no idea how pricey they are. Of course, some people, looking right out their balconies, look right out over the Riverwalk or the Schuylkill River banks and all that stuff. Of course, here we are again at the garden. I talked about this the other night. Certified wildlife habitat. So Philly loves to educate people on everything. So they will post a sign literally saying, to show you that they had to qualify for this. This property provides the 4 basic habitat elements needed for wildlife to thrive: food, water, cover, and places to raise young. So that's how they got certified. They had to prove that it met the criteria, if you will. That's how I read it the first time, but they will show you, like, they had to apply for certification. It's not like someone came out and voluntarily said, guess what? We're going to give you a certification. Just slap it on for you. They probably had to apply for it in order to get recognized as a park that fits these requirements. And it's educational and everything and all that stuff. So I call this the toothbrush building, because from the other side, if you're walking down the Riverwalk, the lights on the top, you can't tell from this side, but it could look like an upside down toothbrush. It's hard to like laying flat. It's, I'm not going to walk up there tonight because I would have to walk north for a little bit and then turn around and show you. We're not going to do that tonight. The train is on the tracks. So in order to get over to the other side, I would have to climb over that bridge there. It's hard to see. That's an actual bridge. It looks tinier in the viewfinder. In person, it looks a lot bigger. So, I'm just using my regular phone. Right. I don't know, a potential husky or shepherd. He might have brought out a husky on purpose. This is what they do in Philly. I've been watching a lot of husky YouTubers. And huskies are really good pets, family pets. They're really good with kids. And, the most will be like some howling and barking, but like not out of control. And I saw someone today who had an Australian Shepherd, and I'm torn. Like, if I ever am in a space to get a dog and a cat again, and to live in a house as opposed to, say, an apartment, I don't want to bring where I live now, you can't have them unless it's an emotional support dog or cat. But I wouldn't bring a dog or cat into the apartment where I live now. I'm in a studio. It's just not enough. It's too much. Even though people have van lives with their dogs and cats, I'd have to go out a lot. But anyway, here's the small dog park. I am amazed. In person, it looks really dark. So my phone must bring the light in from the background, because it kind of seems like, they usually keep lights on until 11. So I'm wondering if there's something wrong with the lighting here, because it's incredibly dark. You can't tell. It is really dark over here in person. it's a little bit like, are they gonna fix it? Like, there's missing lights here somewhere. It's like, it's, a little bit on the spooky side, but you can't tell through the viewfinder how dark it is. There's a glow in the dark collar over there in pink. How fun is that? Or a light or what have you. So this is a large dog park. It has a French design, from what I recall. The newsletter saying, and people saying, "Oh, did they rip? What's going on? It looks ripped up or whatever." They put a sidewalk in. They're changing stuff. Can I walk over this really quick? It's cold anyway. Oh my gosh. So this used to be all artificial turf. There were no bricks over here. Like, the artificial turf, as I recall, came up to the benches and stuff like that. Somewhere they've added, hi, hi, big guy. All right, border collie, I think. Somewhere they've added like a street sidewalk. But the French design, it was a special design. Artificial turf is what they decided. So there's like Friends of Schuylkill Riverbanks and everything. And it has a special drainage system and stuff like that, so that when they go to the bathroom or when it rains and so forth and so on, it drains a certain way, so it doesn't create like permanent aromas and stuff. Because you wonder, like, where do all the smells go and all that stuff, Oh, look how cute. So, all right, we'll go on here. Thank you. Anyway, I didn't know they put this brick in. Right. Did I not notice this the other day? Did I not look? So we came by here the other night, and I didn't even notice, unless this is a recent development. He just went to the So you can see sort of the turf is ripped up, and it took me a second, which may be why it's dark. They don't want people realizing yet that there's like a walkway, like a brick walkway. So we will go up to the bridge. So there's the FMC tower. It has 46 floors. And as I always say, the 46th president is President Biden. So 46 floors up there. That was built and opened just before he became president, I think. Like, the timing is sort of coincidental. Wink, wink. It's coinky dink. I took care of some dogs up there on the 46th floor. It's in the AKA extended stay. So the FMC tower, and I don't know what it stands for. I'll have to look it up. Sorry about that. But the FMC tower, that's how quickly stuff comes through, has in it AKA extended stay, which is an extended stay hotel. Also, and a lot of students will stay there from UPenn and stuff like that, people who work there. Also NASDAQ offices, UPenn offices, and GlaxoSmithKline offices. And also, someone's throwing in there a union might be in there. Yes, they could be. I would be surprised. They'd have to have a lot of money. So, Lizzie, hello. Yes, thank you. So here's the dog park. And so they put in, I'm pretty sure this wasn't here before, right? So we can look at the original plans when they first opened up this dog park. But this is all new. It looks like a racetrack. Like they, so the thing is, I walked a dog named Izzy. So I'm used to see Liz is someone I knew a long time ago. Really Elizabeth, but sometimes she went by Liz. So when I see Lizzie and then I see the FU, I think it's hilarious because she would totally do that as somewhat of a joke or to expose other people. So anyway, so there's a pool for the dogs and everything. Isn't that neat? So, and there's the dogs and playing, and they have lots of space to get in a good run, tire them out before they get home and need to get to bed. When you have certain dogs, they need to keep active. Otherwise they'll go bat crazy, right? In their, apartments or whatever. So, or homes or caravans or new homes and stuff like that. So that's what I was told to say. I learned that that's the small dog park over there, and that's the big. They did not have the right. I'm right. Okay, it's bothering me that I don't remember the brick. So I do see it as a new feature. I'll look it up just in case it's some weird thing that was pointed out all of a sudden. But So anyway, I've learned by watching YouTubers in England that the train just started going, that what we would call a mobile home, like a mobile home or a trailer here in the US, hence the term trailer trash. That's okay. My grandmother had a trailer. My mom and aunt wound up in a trailer. It was they were slightly okay-ish. Like, it wasn't the worst. It could, technically it's a home with a roof over your head, and it could get way worse. But in England, apparently, or Wales, or wherever, United Kingdom, they call them caravans. It might be how they're structured, like maybe they're just like hanging out on cinder blocks. I have no idea. But I was like, oh, a caravan, that's interesting. Like, we have like the Chrysler Grand Caravan as a make and model of a car. Anyway, 6:17, it's 43 degrees. That's what it says up there. It's hard to see. 43 degrees. I do actually find the cooler months to be invigorating. When I used to run, I loved running in the colder. I had a space heater that caught on fire. Oh well, hopefully that was a long time ago. These days, these days, I'm being advised to turn it off, but I don't feel like it, so I'll just keep it on. I'm told to like cut people off because the people, my handlers, want to pin down all the naysayers and stuff like that. We're talking a lot of money. Who's got my back? Like Camelback. Got your back. We got your back. It's not pro properties, trust me. So anyway, these beautiful homes here. So the space heater that I have, which I don't have, the space heaters that I would want, sorry, I misspoke there, but a space heater that I would want does list like all the safety features, like if they tip over, like if they tip over, they automatically turn off is what most of them say. And you would just know not to put it near curtains and stuff like that. These days, space heaters are designed to be safer. So I always worry about those plugins, like Glade plugins. I'm like, what if they totally catch fire? Like you're trying to like make your space smell better and they totally like burst into flames. Or it's sort of like the story of oh my God, my kid's cell phone caught on fire and his jean pocket totally exploded. Got a little burn mark on his butt and everything. So anyway. These electric radiators are the best, energy efficient. Thank you, David Sanowitz. I've seen the radiators. The last apartment I lived in here in Philadelphia had a radiator. It was part of the house. Like, it was a row home converted to apartment. The thing is that in that case, it wasn't like a space heater radiator heater, but I know what you mean. I love those things. They look really good. And it's been on my list of considerations because I was like, aesthetically, they're pleasing, and it's not like they have red coils exposed to the so it's an airplane. That's an actual airplane up there, flying over the moving train. Normally a lot of people come in and they in and off. Do they move it for me? I'm kidding. So it takes a really long time for these trains. I used to walk a dog in that building there, the Papillion. But see, it was stuck on the tracks forever and ever and ever. And technically, if they move it along, these gates will open. So we'll see. I don't know if we'll wait or not. 2 Jack Russells. Oh my gosh, how cute are they? Little jacket, tossed salad and scrambled eggs. But thank you. Yeah, the space heater, the radiator type or what have you, they're the best. And they're not too expensive. The electric radiators are the best. Okay, I'll look those up. But I was taking a vote. Like, should I get, should I get a space heater because there's some sort of glitch in the system with the thermostat? Like, after the guys came in to change filters, they left it on. And I woke up in the middle of the night like, oh my God, my heater's on. I don't want it on yet because it was still mildish, but I guess at night it dropped down low enough to click it on. Then I turned it off. Then a few days later, I tried to turn it back on because it did get pretty chilly. And then it went through a clunky phase. So it went through a clunky phase and it shut down. And I haven't been able to get it to turn back on again. But I set it in the on position to 50 degrees, like they said in the email, just to help to keep the pipes from bursting or freezing up. I figure there's a lot of residents in there, so thank you, President Biden. I'm kidding. That's a joke. They usually move it along. Sunday's a busy day on the tracks, but here we go. Maybe they moved the trains for me moving. So a lot of people come down and would be like, oh no, the gates are closed, the train's on here. And they would have to then run up there over to the next bridge and then come down to the Riverwalk to run. Now, depending on what they want to do, they could just run back over the bridge and get on. But it's a thing. People would show up here on their bikes like, oh, the train is here. Frustrated and everything. We're supposed to go this way. So they have the light kind of doing a thing at the top. It's actually, oh, they just stopped it. All right, never mind. So taking votes, should I get a cheap space heater or space heater or not? All of a sudden I thought of like outer space. So we're trying to figure out why people send stuff. Anyway, I'm like a really high level receiver. So if people try to trick people, they do this even at universities. They'll try to trick people's brains so much that they can't pass a test. So, because if I was thinking a space heater and for some reason my brain went into like, what does space mean? Like outer space, that'll totally throw someone off of the reality of what one is talking about. It can be done. So Sharon just walks around like a little lightning rod. Let's see what we pick up today. So here we are, Indigo bikes for your electric bike needs. Or they have both electric and non-electric, I believe. They still have some non-electric in there. Or how does it, yeah. I've never used one. I almost did in New York. Oddly enough, they have city bikes up there. I think they still have them. This is when I was getting my MFA, but I couldn't figure out how to use it quickly enough. And I was like, where? I'm supposed to put my card in, and then it didn't make sense for some reason. So I just hoofed it. And I've just never used them. I had my own bike for many years that I used. Actually, I had a really good bike right before 2011. It got stolen. Was that right before or after everything started? We won't get into it. So it was stolen. This is before, because I was going to live with someone. I was going to rent a room in a woman's house. She turned out she could be part of the gang stalking arrangement. Laura Holly. It's okay. I already reported her to the CIA. And because of her behavior, I was forced to have to find a brand new apartment. I went from above Dirty Frank's to renting a room in someone's house for like 3 weeks. And I'm like, what is wrong with this person? And I thought she seemed okay. She was on a dragon boat race team with me. And I was willing to do it because I wanted to save money. I actually thought I was going to move to the Pacific Northwest. And this was actually in the works. And I was part of the LGBT community. Anyway, and it was, a lot of people were kind of migrating to Portland or similar or Seattle, especially the lesbian community. Anyway, there's a lot more to it. There's also a sisters orient, and we had a sisters nightclub here, and it's a whole thing. So I'm kind of glad I never wound up out there for various reasons, but I would wind up sort of forced into the apartment where I wound up being scared. But I had this really nice bike that I loved. I bought it secondhand off of someone from the neighborhood. It was a rock hopper, not a Huffy at all. It was a Diamondback rock hopper. Anyways, really cool, awesome, very lightweight bike. It was made with aluminum. And after I'd moved all the way up to Poplar Street, which is like eons, it is really far away from this area. I was doing overnights for someone all the way down by like 11th and Rodman. And I was willing to do those overnights in the interim. But anyway, I was so tired one day, and this was still during the 3-week span that I was actually at Poplar Street. I think it was the beginning of the gang stalking. I think it was like the preliminary activity before everything would kick off in a really bad way. Is this Austin Powers over here? We got a British Mini Coupe. We even have the British flag on it. Anyway, and speaking of, I don't know, that would be a huge compliment, but I think one of my old clients wound up in that house over there. I used to live in the Marano, but anyway, they're crazy, totally loony. But I'm kidding. They might try to drive people crazy. I'm kidding. They were part of gang stalking. They wound up on Panama, just down the street from someone else I do overnights for, have done overnights for, who lives all the way up by Fiddler Square. So anyway, I was doing overnights for someone on Rodman Street, a man and woman couple. She had like a guy's name. It was like Danny. And you know how some women have like go by a guy's name, kind of like Bobby and Danny or something like that. So I was really tired. It was really hot. We had 104-degree weather that summer, and I was riding my bike all over the place to work. And I got to their place after riding my bike 50 million times back and forth between Poplar Street and 27th, up there where North Star Bar used to be, all the way down to Rodman, and 11th. And I was like, I guess I'll lock it up outside, because the people who lived on Rodman, they no longer live there. They moved. But they had a million things locked up outside because they had 2 bulldogs, one named Meatball. I don't think the other one was Cookie. That was somebody else's dog. Koplovich or whatever. So they had Meatball and we'll just say Churchill or Winston or something like that. And they had wagons for these big, gigantic bulldogs who they had to sort of wheel out to the dog park because they had gotten old enough to the point where they couldn't walk any longer. And they had all kinds of stuff locked up outside, which is very typical of that particular block next to Sager Run. So anyway, I was like, I guess I'm so exhausted. I guess I'll lock the bike here, because those homes are very small. Like, you climb upstairs, go through the front door, and there's a postage stamp sized foyer before you have to climb up another set of stairs. So if you wanted to bring a bike into a home of that one, that with an entrance on Rodman, because they're kind of Tetrised. Some people have an entrance inside the courtyard. It's Washington Mews, and some people have an entrance right on Rodman. So it's like, oh my God, I'd have to lug this bike in, try to fit it into their postage stamp foyer. Like, I don't think there's enough space. I was so exhausted, sweaty, tired. I think I locked it correctly to their stairwell. They had so many things locked up out there. I figured it was safe, because nothing ever gets stolen on that block of Rodman because it's heavily watched. That's the people with all the flags. That's right. I think someone made it a mission. They're like, we're going to figure out what happened to that bike, because these people are part of a very serious problem. So anyway, I wake up the next day, and someone sent the message. At the time, I wouldn't have known this, but you know how you have that feeling like you know something? As I started to walk down the stairs to the entrance, it came through my mind already. The bike is not there. It was stolen. Do not get upset. We are going to try to keep you as chill as possible. Because, of course, I would need the bike 100 times more, because I just moved all the way up to Poplar, right? And I'm doing these dog walks, and I relied on the bike heavily to get from one dog walk to the next. So it's like I was half conscious of this message. Most people would see that kind of message as, I knew it. I walked outside. It wasn't there. I knew it. You know how you know something? And you're like, I knew that would happen. Someone forewarned you. I am so not kidding. You can hear. Technically, people can hear if someone wants to whisper really quick, don't get upset. You're excited. All right, just chill. I walked down the stairs and I already knew that the bike was gone. Even there's the other side of my brain wanted to go be a little bit livid, like, oh my God, I got to go back and forth to Poplar down to here. I got walks from here, all river to river. I need that bike so badly. What am I going to do? I don't have enough money to buy a new bike. But it forced me to have to talk to someone else on the block who's like, well, I have a bike that maybe you can use. It was like a cheap old rally, kind of like a Huffy, almost like a lot of delivery people from pizza places or Chinese restaurants or whatever. They would have a bike like that. It's really cheap and easy, and you just get them really quick. She had an extra one coincidentally on hand. Coinky dink. And oddly, that person does know I bought the bike from because they're friends. It's like a little triangle, little incestuous lesbian triangle of people who knew each other. Except that where I was doing the overnight nights, this was a heterosexual married couple. But the person who offered a lesser bike knew the person. In fact, she had dated her years prior. The person I bought the bike from used to date the very person who gave me the secondhand low-level bike that was crappy, right? Is that enough evidence for you that something was going on and being set up? And this was 2010. So other people have been imposing drama on me. And I am out here. And I will keep talking, and I will keep reporting those very people to the feds, the State Department, the police, until this thing is worked out. Right, OCF? They helped facilitate me renting the apartment that I would finally wind up in, and I would no longer be going to Poplar. The person up on Poplar Street, whoa. I was willing to actually, she came across as somewhat okay-ish at first. Then after I already gave my notice to technically Rural Properties, they used to own above Dirty Frank's. After I gave my notice, I set a date, arranged a date with this woman who owns the house and was renting a room out to me. And she's like, Sunday's perfect. So I go to the Key at 255 South 17th Street where she used to do acupuncture. Trust me, a lot of people are in the field of acupuncture and you don't want them touching you. Trust me on that one. Big time. Some of these people can actually cause death. I am so not kidding. Because they're so effed up. So I show up and I'm like, great. She's like, here's the key. And I'm like, great, I'll see you Sunday, since that's what we already planned. Oh, I have people coming over for dinner Sunday. You can't come over on Sunday. I was like, oh, I thought we agreed on Sunday, because I lined up 2 friends of mine, Steph and Meg, who agreed to help me move my things. They have a car that can be used for moving. One of them had an SUV-ish, like a CRV, which has a hatchback and all that. There's a Gordon Setter over there, or Iris Setter, either one. So I was like, are you kidding? This is after I already made the deal with her to move and already notified everyone I was supposed to notify. How far back does the setup go? Who's involved? And who needs to cough up money and or be willing to sit in prison? So I left Philadelphia at the end of 2018 for various reasons, stayed with my mom and aunt, was able to save up some money, but I worked 8 different jobs. We can go through the list. At first, I was willing to actually work at Starbucks at first just to have money coming in, because I didn't want to feel like a leech, and I didn't know what to do. And you have to have money if you want to drive a car and get around. You got to put the gas in the tank. That costs money. My mom and aunt didn't have tons of money. They barely got by on their Social Security checks. There's a Chase next to an Amazon. Oh wow, this just startled me. I just got startled by a garage door going up. Oh, sorry. Or are they sorry? So you often Chase in suburbs, they're next to Starbucks. There's a Starbucks down the street here, but here it's next to Amazon. Wonder why. Wouldn't want to steal a package or anything. Right, Chase Utley? That's my claim to fame. I took care of his dog. He lived in the air, 210 Washington Square West, penthouse, 111213, southwest corner. Jennifer and Chase Utley. Now, granted, I didn't really meet Chase. I didn't really care at the time. Jennifer was super nice. And they dodged Philadelphia by moving, and he, that's right, wound up with the Dodgers. Why'd they give him the Dodgers? It's time to dodge Philly big time. That's right. They aren't dumb. So anyway, other people would think they are. So Grace Ferry Avenue goes all down there. Of course, they had some musicians out here the other night when I was out here. There's Igloo. Was I here last night or the night prior? Anyway, and they sang a familiar song, but I forget what it was. So, anyway, long story short, blah, 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 whatever I was talking about. I had a bike that was stolen in 2010. I wound up with some crackpot loony bin who thinks she's all that in a bag of chips, but has never evolved since her family swept a lot of secrets under the rug in 1975. Talk about premium crackers. I'm kidding. I'm not. Sorry, not sorry. I learned how to be a little bit mean because these people are fucked up. So it smells like diarrhea around here. So homeless people might be doing it on purpose to piss people off. Sea breeze. Oh, Starbucks is still open? I thought it's one of these weird time periods where, sometimes Starbucks, I don't know what time it is. Starbucks has closed early where it's like, oh, it's only 6:38. It feels so late because of, so in the wintertime back in the day, Starbucks, at least at Rittenhouse, would be open till 10 and on rare occasions 11. It would be like people would be studying for their exams and stuff, and there were so many people here, they could afford to keep it open. Anyway, so the vote is for an electric heater, and sort of go with that. I'm doing overnights starting on Wednesday for a couple weeks. So in a way, I don't need the heat on at night for myself. The thermostat doesn't work anyway, and I don't feel like having to call anyone out. I'm hoping they'll send around an email saying, if you need to reset your heater, this is what you need to do. That's what I'm hoping for. I really just don't want to have to put up with too much testosterone in my feminine space there. Ladies, can I get a shout out? There are ladies who won't admit that they feel the same way. There's a lot of, even men are like, oh, I don't have to call you that. I have an illegal dog in the apartment. I have an illegal cat in the apartment. I saved a Starbucks cup to, sorry, I have to pretend I have a Starbucks drink, right? That's a good idea. I used like Starbucks cup, I think in my videos when I read, I used them as props when I read my book. I read excerpts from my book. These are videos from way back in the day. But it's a really good idea to have like an extra cup. I forget why I used it, the videos, and you could walk around and pretend you, it's sort of like being at a bar and like pretending you have a drink. Because if, like this would be like for college people who still feel pressured to show up to a bar and have fun. I'm having fun. I'm having a cocktail. So anyway, I have a couple, well, I used to have a couple, but I use them for my videos for reading the book. I used to have a Starbucks, by the way, free cups November 16th. So it's free cup Starbucks day, November 16th, but it's first come, first serve, so you have to get there. I guess you have to get a drink, but they have the Christmas cups or whatever, probably, or red cups, like free red cups or what have you. Go this way. Go this way. So So anyway, November 16th is Free Cup Starbucks Day. I used to have a red one that I loved. It had sort of a Christmassy theme to it, I think. But I dropped it, or somehow it cracked, and I had to get rid of it, I think. Anyway, you can use them as decoys or props or what have you. Don't forget to get your sleeves. Recently, I stopped at the Starbucks and decided to get a pumpkin spice. And you have to ask for a sleeve. They won't put them on. It's sort of an ecological thing. And I realized, oh, it's a little extra hot. So don't forget to ask for a sleeve if you're getting a hot drink, because sometimes they're a little too hot and then your little fingertips will kind of feel scorched and burn and stuff like that. So what's the cost of a space heater being plugged in versus HVAC? I don't know. Like, I try to go cheap. What made me say that? What made me decide all of a sudden to try to compare the price of a space heater plugged in versus HVAC cost? Of course, a lot of people, they always get all freaked out because they're like, why is my bill so high? Am I paying for somebody else's heat? They love to do that here in Philadelphia. So it's an age-old tradition. Landlords, it's almost like a party for them. They love doing it. So, because there's no way to totally tell, of course there are readers out there often. I think in our case, technically the bill comes from monitoring data or data monitoring. Eclipse, hello. All right. Well, anyway, this is me live streaming in Philadelphia. But anyway, landlords love to do that. Data monitoring or monitoring data corp or what have you, they're supposed to go around and read the meters and stuff like that for your utility bill and stuff. So you kind of rely on these people to do the right thing and not be like communists where they're like, the other theory is, and I love this one, we rotate around so that everybody has their fair share at like lower bills versus higher bills. That is so communist, I don't know where to begin. And then you have sons and daughters of criminal families who sell drugs for a living, and they get to live there on the super cheap while everybody else had to work their asses off. Oops, got really quiet. How many people live in high-rise buildings and their parents are criminals or from criminal families? You'd be surprised. That's what they always say. I don't know. It is a city. It is a dirty city. It's a corrupt city. A lot of people are used to getting away with stuff all the time, or they try to hurt people on purpose. And they love moving in and trying to annoy people. Oh, everybody wanted me to be quiet for a second. Aurora, speaking of Northern Lights. So I know Maine had its Northern Lights visible, I guess, last night maybe. And I think aurora is a word that goes along with or complements or is used in conjunction with the Northern Lights. Route 66, 72. So is that the bookstore still hanging on? Oh, they changed. So the bookstore, Charmed, and Loop is still over there, a knitting store. It looks smaller, but I guess it's still the same, the bookstore. What happened at Philadelphia 1972, and then something, I guess it says Route 66 over there on that t-shirt, the black and white one. Hey, my name is Sharon. Where's my money? This is the block where I lived on, where I was scared out of my apartment. Here comes a fake and a fraud. Yoga habit, total fakes. I'm kidding. Do we want to see 626 or not really? Go to 626 for a good Sunday night little jam. So I used to live at 626 South 19th Street. We're on 19th. This is South Street. You're looking up South Street West. This is 19th Street. So this is where I was kind of forced to hurry up and move. My name is Sharon. And this is where I found an apartment just down here. Yes, Sharon, the aurora was last night. It may be visible tonight also. Oh, very good. Right. I'm kind of curious, like, why? Like, I kind of read part of an article that explained, like, certain regions can see it and certain regions can't. I guess it depends on weather and stuff like that. Oh, looks like my landlord. How sweet are you? Little Labrador, little yellow lab or old yeller. Thank you. Thank you. You remind me, oh, he's teething and everything. Hi, sweet thing. Okay. Oh, what's his name? Hunter? Okay, I'll bet. That is like my old landlord. Yeah. So thank you. Oh. So Dennis, a guy named Dennis would have been landlord down here. I don't know if he sold this place or just had it totally redone. Now it's all modernized and everything. Oh, look how cute. Beep. Indiana in the house. Barn doors. So I would come home here. There's a certain energy that I miss of having lived here. Of course, you know, at my age, oh, Chucky doll in the... That's awesome. That is awesome on a Corolla, Maryland. So this is funny. This would refer to someone I knew as Heather, who was part of the LGBT community. We probably never would have wound up married. You get it, Maryland? She would knock on my window and play tricks and games. She's a trickster. Oh well, but basically she's Chucky. She's evil Chucky. And oh, this looks like one of those plushie dolls. This would be like Felix the cat, but those plushie dolls, some of them are sent into space. I just learned about these plushies from watching Sherpa's Day. So anyway, it depends on how far south you are. It's better far north of here, and some places can hear it. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So we have a maroon Chevy. Thank you for that information. With a book in the back. That would be supposed to be like my mom's car, kind of. This would be as close as you can get. My mom had a Ford Escort LS, 1996-7. This is where I came home every night. These were my windows, except they made them ugly. They didn't look like this. They used to have these really long, elegant curtains. There was an air conditioner unit that hung out here, but they closed it all up. So they must have like central air or what have you, and central heat. They never kept the trash outside before. I see Ghirardelli, and we just looked up Ghirardelli brownies, came up as like who has the best brownies, and go figure, there's a Ghirardelli like brownie mix there. I just saw that because they rated like Pillsbury brownies versus Ghirardelli versus Betty Crocker, so forth and so on. But when I lived here, the trash was kept inside. You kept your trash inside your apartment. But the bike stands have always been here. The windows have kind of looked like this because they didn't have laundry when I first moved in, but when I decided to stay on after 2011 because I couldn't figure out where to go, they put laundry in. So that was a selling point to keep staying here. I couldn't figure out how to get out of whatever I was stuck in. And Chirp, that's interesting. So it looks like Chirp, and this is interesting. I'll keep going. They told me I should keep going. But Chirp, first of all, I started watching someone named Sherpa's Day or Sherpa, and sometimes they'll say Sherp, Sherp, Sherp. He calls his dog Sherpa, but Sherp for short. All of a sudden, not too long ago, there's like a fire thing on the ceiling. They have like a smoke detector and a fire alarm, and I kept hearing like a chirp, like a bird chirping, and I was like, should I call them? Does it mean there's like haywire is a wire? Go back around, and that would be behind my apartment and the people next door. So there's two buildings next door here to where my place was, but that's what we're dealing with, folks. That's what I was told to say. Gang stalking or not? Is he puppeted or not? The singer there. Keep going. So anyway, I was like, well, I keep hearing these chirp sounds. I'm not sure if I should call or not. I love this Toyota, by the way, these little chunky Toyotas here at the Learning Train Academy. So I was like, I guess I should call because I don't know if there's something wrong with the fire alarm system, or I'm not sure what's causing the chirping. And I tried to figure out where it was coming from, but I knew it was coming from one of three things that are secured on the ceiling of my apartment. I'm sure every apartment has them. So I called out maintenance, and across the hall, some guy had Precision Mechanical coming in. So a whole bunch of guys from Precision Mechanical were helping in 1301, and across the hall is little me in 1306. And he had one of these old school, his air conditioner must have been broken down because he had one of these window things with a hose. Almost like, what if he was afraid to be poisoned by whatever they're using in the new air conditioning system? That would be someone who's incredibly conspiracy theorist, right? So either it was broken down, they want me to turn it off? Turn around? Okay. So I have 5 people. So anyway, I almost went to Dorian's, but the higher ups are saying, go this way. So trust me, there are people way up there. They want to see how far other people are willing to go. I don't know when they'll ever learn. When will they ever learn that they're not in charge, that I am? So anyway, a whole bunch of people were across the hall because the guy across the hall had one of these makeshift air conditioning units with the big hose. It's like Land of the Lost looking, and it has this big white thing with an oval piece that you put in the window. So your air conditioner would be, technically the air you're getting is coming from outside, not the internal central air system. Now, they had a whole bunch of them down under the steps, way down on floor 3, where sometimes I've exited to go out the back. And I went out one day and I was like, oh my gosh, there's 5 of these things down here. They've since been cleared out. So maybe someone's like, we don't want you using the AC, since the guy across the hall, we don't want you using central air for heat or air conditioning. If the guy across the hall ain't using it, there's a reason. So called out maintenance. And I was trying to explain to him this chirp. He kept asking a million questions. I'm like, I don't know what else to say. All I know is I assumed maybe it needed a battery. But I kind of, got a little flitty, I'm going to report this to CIA. I kind of flipped out a little bit. But then I felt like the person who would be ganged up on and sort of, made to feel like I would get in trouble. Whereas they're the ones who created the problem. They created a major problem, all those people I just mentioned. They created the problem, didn't they? So the vote seems to be in favor of not using the central air conditioning and heating system. The guy across the hall didn't. Is he afraid that there's poisonous air running through these copper pipes and this brand new central air system in our building? So, kite 618. White caps, kites, KKK. They'll never win. Not against me, not all the evil white power they think they have, not all the witchcraft they thought they learned in Maine or natural settings. It's a lie what they teach people. It's a lie. And how far did it get people? Let's face it. I was told to say Maine because someone who's handling my situation believes that there's a problem, that people were made to believe that they can unleash witchcraft on people or try to hurt people or get them killed off. That's what I was told to say. More diarrhea. Somebody is out putting diarrhea smells all over the city. So a lot of people do get sick, have issues. Either they're homeless or they're drunk and they have a major issue on the sidewalk. But there's too much pushing out of a diarrhea smell in too many areas for it to be a homeless issue. The city's doing something gross again. Does Philly love being gross? Do they try to make people sick? Hey, M. Night Shyamalan, do you think Philly has Munchausen syndrome? Remember M. Night Shyamalan and the mom was poisoning the child in that scene and Cole could see dead people? I think it's Munchausen, I'm not sure. Close enough. Does Philly like to do that? Do they try to make people sick on purpose? Do they need the hospitals filled up? You need that revenue stream. There's too many different locations that are far apart, so either there's a bad sewage system with a line that runs to certain locations, or somebody's up to no good somewhere. Because I just walked a lot of mileage here, and at very distant locations, this diarrhea smell keeps popping up. So either everybody has diarrhea who's homeless, and I keep crossing paths with them, or the sewage system has an issue. They are picking up trash over here, across from Choice Deli. Or someone can send the aroma. It's just like I mentioned before, like I knew the bike was stolen when I was doing that overnight, and it's almost like someone sent the message, we're going to keep you chill, the bike has been stolen, you love that bike, it was a high quality bike that you got on the down low cheap, and it's gone, somebody stole it, let's just keep going, don't pay attention, don't let it bother you too much because they thrive off of it. Right, Rodman, Sager 1 losers. I almost said Lazar. Oh, there's Chase Bank. That's a Chase ATM. I didn't know they had one here. I kind of forget. They are out to prove that they're not always next to a Starbucks. They are very often in the suburbs. There's very often a Starbucks and ER clinic and Chase all in the same strip mall. Let's see. Sorry, I wanted to. I remember smelling garbage. Yes. So, right. I don't know if you worked in the garbage industry. I grew up in Delaware, and Tolliver was the name of our garbage collector in Newark, Delaware. And it became a topic of conversation because technically people do get paid a lot in certain roles and while collecting garbage because it's such a god-awful job. And, you have to really be in a certain mindset to do it. Jack 1, yes, hello. Welcome in Philadelphia Walks PTSD. I'm taking votes for should I get a space heater or shouldn't. There's a whole story behind it regarding a faulty HVAC system in my apartment and me not necessarily feeling like calling in maintenance who might have caused the problem to begin with. Maybe. I'm just suggesting that it's a possibility. Perps. Purple. So purple up there too. Is it Domestic Violence Month or what? To look into it. Is that a death threat? Because isn't this where that woman was killed and strapped to a pole and set on fire and that guy just turned on his headlights really quick? Naldane, ladies and gentlemen, one of the very proud historical moments in Philadelphia. An AIDS researcher was killed by her bug exterminator. And, they want to see if they'll go in really quick to try to fix it. It's okay. I have a dummy camera. I have a real camera in my apartment. So if anyone tries to go in, send the message and try to fix the thermostat on the down low because they heard it here. I'll know. I will know it. So anyway, my vote, Joe says get a space heater. I kind of agree. So they're not too expensive and they might do the trick. I have a lot of overnights coming up for November. The schedule is sort of tentative in terms of exactly what days they're coming and going. Then potentially in January, I will have overnights. maybe March if he's still here at that time. They know they did something bad, and we caught them. Okay, great. So here we are at Addison and Waverly. This is Waverly. I'm often around here walking Fletcher, Sheldon, and Rudy. This is their neck of the woods, their stomping grounds, their neighborhood. All right, so a little chill in the air tonight. It's really good that you have a camera in your apartment. Yes, thank you. Or a voice activated recorder. So it's, in the past I couldn't afford to really buy such things, but because I had so many weird things happen, I was like, what's the explanation? Like, what's causing some of the weird things to happen? Like, is there a person who's responsible, or are there other things at play? It's sort of like putting a cat cam out there to figure out what your cat's doing when you're away. Because you're like, can my cat actually open the cabinet doors to my... So, turns out some cats actually can do that. And cat and dog cams have sort of helped people see what goes on when they're not home and what their cats are capable of or their dogs are capable of. So here we are past 10 Presby Church. So that looks like a Russian flag. I don't know if China Republic or Russian flag. Both communists. Technically, that's the correct description. So it's not supposed to be a pejorative description. Unless, of course, you don't love the communist system. But anyway. Doggy style over there. It's so amazing how it gets dark so early in the evening that it can feel like it's 8 o'clock already or 9 o'clock. Glad I got out here to get a good walk in. And it can get a little bit like much to stay inside too much and feel sedentary or get chilly. Like if it does get chilly and your thermostat's not working, it's like you gotta, in a studio you can only keep moving so much, you know what I mean? She tried to get me to cross the street, but she's in jail with that Sephora bag. So that's a lot of locking of a woman to buy so much makeup. Expensive makeup at that. I had to put the drama on for a second. So we have pink on the one side, purple on the other. That's the shops at Liberty Place. And these towering buildings with the lights would be like on the opposite corners. Have a good night, Sharon. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. I appreciate your vote. I will weigh your vote heavily. I'll probably get a space heater. It's sort of this thing of like trying to figure out if it's worth it. Should I spend the money? Should I call in maintenance? Is my sanity worth, just spending a little bit of money on a space heater for a while? And so forth and so on. So, because everybody has an argument for every topic. So some people would say, oh, they're making you spend money. Or for if anything under $30, say, it's almost worth it to not have to put up with the rigmarole and the same BS that goes on, in many, many property management companies. The downside of renting is you have to put up with a bunch of BS. I wound up here. I'm glad I'm here on some level. I would say, I had more independence in my last apartment other than all the torturous stuff that was going on otherwise. But at least when I was home, I didn't feel a certain way. So we'll put it that way. But I had, technically I was put in a position to be forced to be grateful for whatever was offered and whatever I could be approved for. Isn't that the worst position to be in? Oh God, I got to bow down to the mighty gods who are willing to listen to what happened to me. And I have the money, but I don't want them, going too deep into my history of payment history of like credit cards or whatever. Actually, I'm totally okay, but it has to do with me all of a sudden having to move out of my last apartment, and I wasn't able to pay like 2 credit cards during that time period. So it kind of tarnished my history, and I was like, what if it's an issue? They didn't really care. They knew I was good for the money. That's all that matters. Just wait until summer, right? I'm hoping first a winter coat, now an electric heater, right? Of course, I returned it, right? So I returned the coat, Joe. Although I am waiting for a different one to come in that's significantly cheaper. And hopefully that'll, do the job. If not, I'll return that one and find another one. Wind up at Target just getting one, But it's, kind of sucks to be in a position where you feel you have to be grateful, and then things can happen where you're like, oh, I see how it works. You're at the mercy of the very people who might be unleashing things that are abusive. And you're not sure. You're like, who's causing this, that, and the other? That's really crazy. It's hard to say. Philly is very much like this. I would like to move. I don't want to live in Pennsylvania at all. I would rather move somewhere else, just because of how bad my situation was, and technically how bad Philadelphia is. They have a lot of problems here. So, and I'm older, so I'm kind of tired of the city. You know what I mean? I'll be 53 in a few weeks, believe it or not. And when you're 53, you just don't want to put up with the bullshit any longer, right? Hello, Chase. We put the chase on for a minute there, or 100 minutes, 90 minutes, however long I've been Capital One. So they have a cardamom coffee here, or latte, and cardamom is a spice you put in Indian food. But what's so funny is they will highlight that for people right around Mother's Day, so you remember to get a card for your mom. You get it? Isn't that so neat? Isn't that so neat? Sorry, really quick to get the good elevator. Hopefully no games are going on in the elevator world. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'll put this down here now that I'm in the building and stuff like that. So chilly out. My vote is for a space heater. They are allowable. So we'll go with it. Thank you so much and have a good night.